Go to proceed to leave, and this gentleman looks at my car, kind of looks me up and down and says, "Did you leave any food for me?"
Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be seeing two YouTubers. The first YouTuber we're going to be watching is Maria, and the name of Maria's video is Let's Talk Intrusive Thoughts. I hope you enjoy.
Hey guys, happy rainy dreary Saturday. I just wanted to have a little talk about the intrusive thoughts that fat people get. One of the errands I was running around doing today was bottle returns. And I go to like a bottle depot place where like humans just count your bottles and give you cash. Because I so infrequently return bottles, it is a lot more convenient for me. Like today I returned over 600 bottles. So like I jammed my car full of bags of bottles. Anyway, so while I'm there with these 600 plus bottles, at least 95% of them are Mountain Dew bottles from my husband. And the intrusive thought that came in was, oh my God, everyone here is judging me, thinking I'm fat because I drink all this soda. And I want to make a comment to like the person counting my bottles that, you know, say something about how these Mountain Dew bottles are not mine, they're my husband's. Just so everyone knows not to judge my body on this.
Okay, now I had to stop it because this reminds me of a Seinfeld episode where Cosmo is taking bottles to Michigan because they're worth 10 cents a bottle. And he and this other guy make a whole, I think it was Newman. He and Newman go and they make this whole plan to recycle these bottles. And before you know it, they're running out of gas and they're kicking bottles out the back of the van. Very, very funny episode. And what we have here is a unique situation. Normally, I would tell Maria, this is all in your head. They're not going to make fun of you. You know, people aren't like that, right? They have more important things to think about. But this is almost comical, guys. Imagine a woman that's overweight, and imagine all of a sudden she's driving all of these Mountain Dew bottles. If she says, "This is my husband's," the people there, when she leaves, are going to joke that, no, it's not. It's obviously hers, right? But then if she goes ahead and doesn't say anything, they'll joke and be like, it was probably her boyfriend or her husband's, because that's how people are. So this is one of those things where it's like you want to commiserate with somebody and say, yeah, but the reality is this might be one of those that's kind of a funny, natural situation. Don't hate me.
And this is something I have to work on because I kind of froze with that thought for a while. I just kind of froze with it. And those kind of intrusive thoughts where I feel like I have to justify something in my life, just so everyone knows not to judge my body on this. And this is something I have to work on because I kind of froze with that thought for a while. I just kind of froze with it. And those kind of intrusive thoughts where I feel like I have to justify something in my life, whether it's my body size or something I'm buying for whatever reason, anything like that. Like, I really suck at conquering those thoughts and having a better reaction.
She decided not to turn in the bottles and just to turn around, and she took the bottles home, and her husband got in a big fight because, you know, he expected those bottles to be cashed in. I'm kidding.
Or really just ignoring them. Like, I know I can't control my intrusive thoughts. Like, they're intrusive thoughts. So but I can control how I respond to them. And what I could have done, and what I hope I learn to do, the more I work on it, is that kind of intrusive thought comes like, oh my God, people are judging me, judging my body because of XYZ. Just be like, Maria, no one cares. No one is judging you. Relax, calm down. And let's be real, if they're judging me, it's coming from a place of hurt and they need their own work. Like we know this.
Unless they're Seinfeld fans. Tell me I'm wrong. If you watch Seinfeld, do you remember that episode?
And like, I had hundreds of Mountain Dew bottles. There were people returning hundreds of beer bottles, and another person had hundreds of beer cans. What does it matter? We're just trying to get our money back and save the environment. So it's so intrusive thoughts. I'm gonna say they won this round, because even though I didn't say anything, the only reason I didn't say anything is because the dude counting my bottles is too busy counting to do any sort of small talk. So literally, all these people, the employees and the customers, we're all just standing there in silence. Like, we could talk amongst ourselves, which sometimes happens, but that did not happen this time. But anyway, so, yeah, so we're going to say the intrusive thoughts won this round, and hopefully next time I respond better.
And in the case that she actually described there, they probably weren't. 95% of the time, people are too busy doing things in their life. In this case, he's counting money, he's counting cans, he's looking at the weight of the bottles, whatever the situation is. He was just too busy. A lot of times we make mountains out of molehills, but I still thought it was a funny situation.
And yeah, so it's very, very annoying to deal with. And this is just, I don't know if this kind of intrusive thought is because of my traumatic childhood or simply because I am just a fat person in America. I was not fat as a child. I was too poor to be fat, in all honesty.
Isn't that interesting that she said that? Because if you're a venter, you remember Unbearably Me just said that the other day when we watched one of his videos, that growing up he was actually skinny because they didn't have much food. And there was another girl that one time she stole cookies from her kindergarten class, right? Because once again, when she was little, she didn't really have a bunch of food. I think there's a lot of comfort that people have as an adult when they first start getting their first couple jobs. They're able to fill up their cupboards with snacks and junk food. It's just kind of interesting how that happens for different people, because other people had the flip side, right? Where maybe they were overweight since they were little and they grew up where people always were giving them junk food and stuff. This one's the opposite story.
I don't know where the root cause comes from, but it's still there and it's something I have to work on. So yeah, that's our update. That's our topic for today, are the intrusive thoughts, and yeah, do you guys have any tips? How do you deal with intrusive thoughts?
I think this is the one she should kind of giggle over. It was kind of a funny situation, but nothing came of it. It was really all in her head. And if anything, I think she can give herself a pass to let this one go, because she might be the only one that had these thoughts, period, right? So at this point, she's just kind of arguing with herself, I think. But I'm still glad she shared this. So anyway, I think Maria is really talented, and she's a brand new YouTuber, so she's going through these struggles now. So if you're really interested, I'll link her channel in our description. And the other YouTuber I want you guys to see is Skinny Jenny. And with Skinny Jenny, I'm going to be putting her video, and I'm going to timestamp it right here. If you want to, go ahead and fast forward to that point. For the rest of you venters, grab your shoes. Let's go for a walk. That dog loves just hanging out. Go home, pretty girl. Go home. Oh my God, what a good dog. That dog knows its way around. Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Guys, it's cloudy today. I don't know if it's gonna rain or what, but it's supposed to be about 8 degrees less than yesterday. Would you believe it if I told you yesterday, according to my car, the outside temperature was about 114, 115 degrees? That is nuts. That happens every summer, of course, here in Arizona. But what makes it unique to me is it felt like it went from 102, 103 to all of a sudden we were in the 110s, just kind of out of nowhere. But if there's a people in this country that are used to the heat, I guess it's the people here in Arizona. Guys, I got not one but two fun little stories that I'd like to share with you. But first off, I hope you're having a happy weekend. So check this one out. This one I had to share because it pertained to a lot of us. You know, there's 800 million people in the world that suffer from recurring lower back pain. 7 out of 10, well, excuse me, I missaid that. 800 people suffer from lower back pain. 7 out of 10 of them have a situation where it's recurring, right? It's chronic, just like these telemarketers that bug the shit out of me. God, may every telemarketer's finger fall off. Fingers, let's take all their fingers off so they can't dial phones anymore. So anyway, this recurrence leads to disability and reduced quality of life, especially when you consider that most of those people with lower back pain tend to be adults rather than, children, obviously. The Macquarie University of Spinal Pain Research, Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia, followed 701 adults with lower back pain over a period of 1 to 3 years, okay? And they found out, the study found that with walking, the recurrence rate was cut in half. So those that walked went twice as long without lower back pain recurring. So what does that mean exactly? Well, the participants were followed for 1 to 3 years, and check this out. Those participants that went ahead and walked, they only had a recurrence of back pain every 208 days versus 112 days for the controlled group that didn't walk. So what that tells me is that when you're walking, you're building up muscles, but more importantly, your alternative to walking is probably sitting down. When you're sitting down, your body is shaped like an S, right? Or like 2 L's back to back. Whereas when you're standing, you're in one symmetrical line and you're able to just kind of walk and build strength. So another thing that walking does that a lot of us here talk about is it enables you to sleep well. And let's be honest, when you have lower back pain, you're probably not sleeping all the best, right? You got to find that perfect position where you can sleep without being uncomfortable. And a lot of times when you walk, you'll find that you're just able to sleep better. But now, on top of that, because this was the first study of its kind, believe it or not, it sounds like on top of being able to sleep better, you might be able to stay away from that lower back pain. So, don't be surprised if the name of this video is Walking Can Cure Your Lower Back Pain or something to that effect. I'll try to make it real catchy. But I think that's great. I don't know about you guys, but I have dealt with lower back pain, and I've also dealt with back and neck pain in general through the years. And I don't know about you, but when I wake up with a kink in my neck, my God, when I was a kid, I felt by the time lunch rolled around, my kink was long gone. As an adult, sometimes I have that same kink in my neck, and it'll last me 2 or 3 days. And I've talked to other adults about that, and they've been like, you know what, Jesse, you're right. When I was a kid, I would bounce back from those injuries right away. As an adult, sometimes those kinks in the neck last for a lot longer than they used to. So if you experience that same situation, let me know down in the comments. But let's be honest, we're trying to throw a lot more positives in the bucket when it comes to walking, right? Because we want to motivate ourselves. Many of you are on your first or second week of walking with me, and I want you guys to know that if you've dealt with back pain, you know how crappy that can feel, right? And if walking is going to keep us from experiencing that back pain, then heck, that's a good thing. What's interesting, though, is that despite the walking, I've had bouts with back pain. What I'm wondering now after reading this article is now I'm wondering, hey, what if I would have never walked? If I would have never walked, I would have probably had twice as many situations and days where I had that back pain out. But Lily, think about this. When you're walking every day and you're drinking water and you're avoiding sugar and you're still plateauing, you're not losing a single pound, again, those strike me as days that if you were just eating whatever you wanted to and not walking, it probably would have been a real recipe for gaining 2 or 3 pounds. So again, I don't know if we should look at plateauing in a positive, but I think we can all agree that if we look at it from a positive point of view, it's better than the alternative. We don't want to think about things in a negative light constantly, right? So if we can look at plateaus and we can tell ourselves, hey, thank God I'm working out, otherwise I might have gained a pound or 2. Ken Wang, one of our venters, likes to say, hey, your body is constantly trying to get fat. It just never stops. If it were up to your body, you would be gaining weight constantly, right? Because we want to eat those bad foods. We don't want to necessarily exercise. And let's really think about that, guys. We really don't want to exercise. Look, even when I'm doing 15 or 20 push-ups, by the time I get to push-up number 20, I don't want to do push-ups anymore, right? There's something within the body that says, no, we don't want to do this. But you want to know something? I don't experience that when I'm walking. I really don't. Look, every 5 or 10 minutes, I'm able to walk quite a distance. There's something in my body that kind of gets a little dopamine hit from that, And I don't know about you guys, but when you have problems and you're able to actually take a half hour each day and see if you can come up with a solution to those problems, for me, that is a mini little dopamine hit. Does it taste as good as an Oreo cookie or a brownie? Probably not, But again, if you guys are having trouble with your sugar intake, I have yet, in 100 days of walking with you guys, I have yet to hear one comment where somebody said, Jesse, I went to the store and I went ahead and bought a bunch of bananas. I bought some oat milk or some silk milk or, milk alternative, or heck, if you're like me, I actually bought some real milk, right? And I threw it with ice in a blender. It was dull, but because I don't eat too much sugar, it actually tasted pretty decent. And it got me through this whole week of not wanting to eat sweets. I have yet to hear a comment like that. So again, if you're trying to quit sugar cold turkey, or if you're hopefully doing what I recommend, which is quitting it through baby steps, right? We drink 4 sodas a day. Maybe after a week or 2, we cut that down to 2 sodas. And maybe after a month or 2, we cut that down to 0 sodas, right? Or maybe instead of 1 soda a night, maybe we cut that down to 1 every weekend or so, right? And by the way, every time you drink a soda on the weekend, is there a chance that you'll relapse and go right back into your old habits? Of course there are. We can't lie about it. Of course there is. But a lot of times people relapse on their diet, right? Because they don't like the restriction. So if you're able to tell yourself that, hey, life is not necessarily about restricting myself from Coca-Cola products. It's more about enjoying them, but then moving on with my life and not obsessing over them. Because let's be honest, when you go to the store and you buy a Snicker bar, you never think, I'm gonna buy 6 or 12 of these at a time. But when we go and buy soda products, you can't help but buy a 2-liter of soda or a 6-pack of Coke. So it's almost like you can't have just one Coke because you're not really purchasing it one bottle at a time. And if you are purchasing it one bottle at a time, that can get really expensive too. Well, what are you saying, Jesse? Are you saying to buy soda in bulk or to buy it one can at a time? What I'm saying is ultimately we need to get you off the soda. Get off the soda. Drink some sweet tea, and then from sweet tea go to semi-sweet tea, and then get yourself down to the point where you barely ever have any sweet drinks, and you'll be better for it. But the main thing about what I'm trying to say is start walking and you'll eliminate that back pain. And you know as well as I do, back pain sucks. All right, now speaking of sucks, that first story, even though it was awesome, sucks compared to this next story. Hi guys, okay, so this is Skinny Jenny. She's gonna tell us about a really uncomfortable situation she had with a jerk in the grocery store. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments.
Hey everyone, it's Jenny here. Just going on my second video. I just wanted to share something really quick with you. Today really marked a day of why I need to get the surgery. I'm feeling so lousy. I'm 5'1" and 240 pounds, so it's a lot of weight. I'm in a lot of pain. My ankles are so swollen. It hurts to walk. I'm just so large, and to carry all this weight, and now we're in the summer heat, and it's just crazy. I just can't wait to be out of this body. But I wanted to share an experience today that was actually quite humiliating, and it was actually the first time I've ever experienced this in my face. So I had gone food shopping with my children, and I bought like 3 cases of water, and I had a lot of bulk stuff because I was getting ready for my diet. Anyway, my cart was very, very full, and I was in the frozen section. I was picking out my veggies. I go to proceed to leave, and this gentleman looks at my cart, kind of looks me up and down and says, "Did you leave any food for me?" I was shocked. I really didn't know how to take it, so I kind of chuckled, and I just went on my way, and I was like, wow, okay, so that's how this world is, and that's the reason why I really avoid going out at all costs, for the most part, so whatever. But then it proceeded, and with both my children, they're witnessing this, and then we went to the checkout, and the kid made a comment that was bagging my items, saying, "Oh, well, you have 2 kids, that's a lot of food," and I was like, just get me out of here. And then I go to my car in the parking lot. I'm putting my groceries away, and I have a lady walk by my cart, and she's looking at everything, and she makes the same type of comment, like, "Oh, that's a lot of food. Like, who cares?" But it just goes to show you how judgmental this world is, and it's sad, and it is one of my main reasons for doing this surgery. I don't want to be perceived as that. I'm not that person. And I'm just so tired of living this life. So with that being said, I'm going out now for my final meal that will fit my large stomach. I'm going to have some drinks. I'm going to have some laughs. I'm going to just enjoy myself. I'm going out with coworkers that love me and I love them, and there's no judging there, and I'm hoping my boyfriend will join me as well. And I'm really I'm ready to do this. I'm so tired of eating. That's what I keep telling people. But I really hope anybody watching this, considering it, if you've gone through something similar, I'd love to hear your story.
I hate when we hear stories like that. She had the triple trifecta of jerks. If you're ever having a day like that, try to let it go. It's just one of those weird moments. But the reality is, people act like jerks. If we could all try to be kinder, the world would be a better place. This next story is good. God, I'm fired up. Let's walk. We just got another reason to walk, guys. No more lower back pain. Let's do this.
All right, so check this out. Karen Swenson, a New Orleans, Louisiana news reporter, did a story on a 90-year-old veteran named Dylan McCormick, who she found at a Metairie, Louisiana grocery store pushing carts. Now, the reason this is an interesting story is because this gentleman's 90 years old, and when she asked him, "What the heck are you doing pushing carts at your age?" he explained that in order for him to break even each month, his bills worked out to about $2,500 a month. Unfortunately, his Social Security payment or check only worked out to about $1,200 or $1,300 a month. What's that mean, Jesse? It means that the 90-year-old gentleman is working at a Metairie, Louisiana grocery store pushing carts every day in this heat. So she went ahead and she was able to raise over $233,000 in the course of a couple of days with crowdfunding, or with a GoFundMe account, excuse me. And so that was interesting, but here's the interesting thing I want you to ponder. That might be an anti-blessing in disguise. That's a good story, right? Hey, we raised $233,000. Now this gentleman doesn't have to work. He can actually enjoy his retirement. Well, I hate to tell you this, but one of the best things that was probably keeping that guy alive was that daily job, right? Pushing carts. Now that he's got the ability to go sit at home, guess what happens? A lot of times when people retire, they end up perishing. So if you're one of these folks that you want to retire early, here's how you retire early and live a long time. Give yourself a schedule. Work just as much in your retired years as you did when you were working. Good morning. And what I mean by that is work in your garden, you know? Get used to working every single day. Go to the gym. Make that part of your daily schedule. Right when you become inactive, you send signals to your brain that, hey, it's time to call it a day. And before you know it, you're kicking the bucket. When my grandma retired at the age of 65, she could have done what a lot of her coworkers and friends did at that time, which is retire, don't do anything. And that's why a lot of them passed away in their 60s and 70s. My grandmother lived to be 98 and a half years old because, believe it or not, my grandmother became a member of a mariachi band. Can you guys believe that? My grandmother at one time was the oldest female mariachi in the country, and then she was a mariachi band singer in her 70s. She actually taught herself how to play the guitar and stuff. So if you can kind of picture that, that's the type of person my grandmother was. My grandmother, come to find out, worked for about 3 or 4 years part-time in a daycare after she retired. She went to work with the little preschool kids and stuff. And one of the things that I saw about 15 years ago that I always smile when I think about, because I don't know where it is now, but she had a bunch of little letters that the little kids had written her saying, "Carmen, thank you so much for being in our life. We love you." And I thought that was really special. God, I love and miss my grandmother. I'll never forget one time we were at Christown Mall in Phoenix, Arizona, and I don't think Christown exists anymore. There's still stores there, but it's no longer like the mall that it was. And one time we were in there, and there was this giant Christmas tree with all these little cards on it. And I was only, I think, like 10 or 11 at the time. And she took me to that tree and she plucked off one of the cards and she goes, "Pick one of these cards." And so I plucked a card off the tree too, right? And she ended up reading the card and I read the card, and come to find out it was a Christmas Angel card. The Christmas Angel was a program for the kids that were very, very poor. Sometimes they were kids that didn't have any parents, like they were part of an orphanage or they were up for adoption and stuff, right? And what it was is, it was like a Secret Santa situation. Guys, come to find out that my beautiful, wonderful grandmother, Carmen Stern, come to find out that for many, many years, she would go to these trees at Christmas time and she would buy toys for the toddlers that just basically couldn't afford toys. So in addition to being the world's best grandma, my wonderful grandmother Carmen was Santa Claus for a lot of kids. Isn't that wonderful? It's always neat when you find out that you have family members that do these special things. What makes my grandmother real special is that she wasn't the type to toot her own horn. If I wouldn't have done my homework and found out that she worked at the daycare, that secret would have died with her, right? But luckily I was able to get a lot of these glimpses into my grandmother's life. One of the things that I regret was that as I turned into my early 20s and kind of went out and bought my own houses and went about with my own life, there was about a 10 or 15 year period there where I was so involved in my life that I kind of missed out on that good period of years where my grandmother was still very much with it and active. And again, whenever I talk with you guys, especially if you're new, you might think, God, that Jesse's always in a good mood. But the reality is, I harbor a lot of guilt. And the reason I harbor a lot of guilt is because my Uncle David, who died of cancer, bless his soul, he died at age 53, and he died in, I believe it was 2010 or 2011, which again, just seems like yesterday to me. But what's interesting is when he died, I was in my, I think, mid-30s, right? And I never realized how young he was until recently, because now that I'm 47, and I think of my wonderful Uncle David that passed away at 53, I just think, how scary. Because, at 47, although I feel much older than maybe a 20-year-old kid does, the years just kind of click by really quickly. And just to think that 6 years from where I am now, when I'm 53, to know that that's when my Uncle David took his last breath. And part of that 10 or 15 year period where I was away from my grandmother and missed out on a lot of her life in her elderly years, I did the same for my Uncle David. So all of a sudden I'm in a situation now where it's like, God, I would love to connect with my grandma. I would love to connect with my Uncle David. I would love to connect with my dad. And guys, they're just not there anymore. And I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking the same thing, because many of you no longer have aunts and uncles that are alive. Many of you no longer have a grandma or grandpa that is. But I implore you, if you're in your 20s and you do still have aunts and uncles, and you do still have grandparents, get over your anger or your rage or your indifference and call them and be in their lives. I had so many opportunities when I was in my 20s and 30s to take my Uncle David out to the movies or to take my grandma out to, a ball game. And I missed those opportunities. And so, like I said, I implore you, pick up the phone, be bigger than the circumstance that's between you guys, and call them and be a part of their life. If somebody ever left a message and said, Jesse, I didn't lose one darn pound walking with you, but I was able to reconnect with some family members, God, that would make my day almost more than hearing somebody lose 20 or 30 pounds. There's something very, very weird about this world we live in. All the people that really care about us and all the people that we really care about, we find ways to avoid them in life. And I don't understand why that is. And I can't tell you that I'm innocent of this. I was just as guilty. But I can tell you one thing. If you were to tell somebody, hey, without seeing this person, what are your thoughts of a 47-year-old man? One of the things that most people would say is, hey, that person is still young. They can still achieve things, which is very true. But one of the things that people in their late 40s and 50s start to lose is the ability to connect with relatives, because our relatives are passing away. People don't live to be 150 years old. They only live to be about 80 years old, and the last 20 years of that are usually tough years. So if you're young, connect with your grandma and grandpa before it's too late. And if you have relatives, love your relatives enough to pick up the phone and give them a phone call. Because one day you're gonna wish that you could, and you won't be able to, So am I glad that this veteran, 90-year-old Mr. Dillon, am I happy that that they raised $233,000 so he could retire? Of course I am. But I hope to goodness that he takes that money and still shows up for work on Monday. What a great way to stay active. Guess what you're doing when you're pushing carts? You're walking, right? Maybe that's why Mr. Dillon's able to work at age 90, because he's always been walking and working. He's always been building those muscles. And when you build those muscles, it gives your body a chance to live into its 90s. And when you're walking, I don't know if you've heard, but it also lowers your chance of Alzheimer's and dementia. Not Alzheimer's and dementia. I always want to call Alzheimer's old timers, right? God, what if walking every day now in your 20s, 30s, and 40s makes it where you can skip through the 70s and 80s with dementia, and you just go in your 80s or 90s naturally with clear thoughts? Wouldn't that be a blessing? Well, there's only one way we can do that. We have to just walk and hope it happens that way for us, right? Because we can't predict the future. But if you walk every day and you end up becoming senile and riddled with different ailments in your 80s or 90s, maybe we avoided that happening in your 70s, And I'll tell you what, with the way that 15 and 20-year periods of time go by so quickly, it's not going to be too long before we're right there. GL, you're 68 years old. I bet you it doesn't seem like that long ago you were in your 40s. I like to talk about Y2K. Do you guys remember Y2K? Y2K was a lifetime ago for me. I'm 47 now. I was 23 or 24 when we were dealing with Y2K. I'm literally twice as old as I was then. Well, GL, you're 68 now, so 24 years ago, you were 44. You were my age, basically. Look how fast the last 23 years have gone. And I bet if we could go back to GL when GL was 44, I'd be willing to bet that there was a piece of you that it was probably very difficult for you to picture yourself being 68 years old. But lo and behold, all of a sudden we look up and we're 68 years old, GL. So you keep walking every single day. If you're down 11, 12, 13 pounds, wonderful. But you know what? You want to know something? Honest to goodness, even if you weren't down a single pound, keep walking. Keep walking. Sean Ayton, you're 49 years old. Let's keep walking so that when we're 59 and 69, we still feel mentally perfect and we still feel physically in shape. Let's see if we can make it where instead of 80 years old, maybe we can live to be 85 or 90. And more importantly, maybe we can walk and be active that whole time. I think it's a shame when we see people in their 50s and 60s and they're walking with a cane or they're using one of these motor scooters. Let's take advantage of this walk. If you have back pain, quit avoiding exercise and start walking with us, okay? If walking makes it where instead of every month you feel back pain every 2 or 3 months, let's do it. Let's do it. If you've ever thrown out your back, it is miserable. Don't be that person that just waits for bad things to happen. Let's tackle it head on. Let's get into our walking routine. Let's freaking do this. Are you with me? Let's do this. Hey, it's the guy with his dogs that he walks. I haven't seen him in a while. Hey, how you been? Good, good. Is it okay if I have you on my show for a second? So I used to brag to everybody that I saw you walking every day, but I haven't seen you walking in a little while. Are you a teacher or something? Is that why you don't walk during the week?
Not unfortunately. I was able to, I contract for SRP. I got a new position and I started doing in-person training.
Here, let's walk.
Yeah, and so,
So you started doing training, so you got a new position?
yes, I got a new position on a new team.
And what's your name for our fans at home?
My name's Brett.
Brett, I'm Jesse. Nice to officially meet you.
Jesse,
I've
you
met
too.
you a handful of times, but I never got your name.
Every time you walk by, it's always just like, hey, good morning, good to see you. So it's great to finally,
So
get your name and take a second.
So the other day I was in the mall with my camera.
Yeah.
And I put my camera down for a minute, and all of a sudden I walked right by you in the mall. So even when I'm walking out in the neighborhood and see you, I occasionally see you out of the neighborhood too.
I know, that was so funny. And my wife that was with me at the time, she goes, oh my gosh, that was the guy, She's lived here, she grew up here and everything, and I'm kind of new to Phoenix. And so she always tells me Phoenix is such a small town, and when you run into people that you haven't seen in years, or just somebody, walking down the street.
Right.
We just happen to run into each other, almost across town. And
well, Brett, I'm so glad we finally got to meet you. So I know you walk to take the dogs out,
yes.
right? But at the same time, is that part of your health routine? Do you actually enjoy the walk with your wife and stuff?
I'm glad you asked me that, because I walk now.
Here, let's go this way so we can get away from the dogs. Sorry about that. Those dogs are going crazy. I don't know how those owners go through that.
Those dogs, man.
Oh,
there's a trash can right there.
Normally I walk forward.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, so how long have you been walking? Do you and your wife try to walk consistently? And are you a fan of walking? And did you ever know it would be enjoyable to walk?
It's really helped me in my life. In 2019, I got in a pretty bad car accident, had back surgery in 2020. And honestly, walking ever since then has really been a huge improvement for my health.
You're not going to believe this. So I've been talking to my fans. I call them the venters. My show is called Walk, Talk, Vent.
Oh, that's amazing.
And the last 2 or 3 days I was talking about, how sometimes you'll be thinking of a product and then it'll pop up on your cell phone feed, right? What if it's us predicting that it's going to pop up? In other words, what if it's not the phone spying on us? What if it's us predicting? Because when I was younger, I'm 47, so I feel like you're in your 20s, right?
I just turned 30 in October.
Oh, happy birthday in October. So you're going to be turning 31 again,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So one of the things that I remember when I was younger is we used to have phones that were corded. I don't know if you're too young to remember corded phones,
Absolutely.
right?
Plugged in the phone, even doing the rotary.
Correct.
All of it.
So did you ever have a situation when you were little, maybe you wanted to call your grandma or an uncle, right? And you pick up the phone to call them, and before you even pushed a button, they were already on the phone. Did you ever experience a situation like that?
I definitely have. There's a couple of times where I was at least a kid and I was wanting to go to my friend's house, and that was the only way that we could communicate.
Right.
It was before, accessible cell phones. And sometimes either the weekend or the weekdays after school, always call my friends, and sometimes I'd pick up and I'd get a response just by picking up the phone.
Isn't that bizarre? Okay,
It's the weirdest experience, but
Okay, so Brett, real quick before my camera blows up from the heat. So you were saying that your back feels better because you're walking.
Absolutely.
10 minutes ago, I just told my venters, my listeners, a story about how walking, according to a study they did in Sydney, Australia, can actually keep your lower back pain from recurring at half the rate that it would if you didn't walk. So in other words, let's say every 3 months you have horrible back pain. If you walk, that should extend to every 6 or 7 months, which is a plus.
Absolutely.
And then sure enough, all of a sudden I come out to you and you're telling me that it helps you with your back pain. So did you notice significant help with your back pain by walking?
Yeah, even from the day I got surgery, it was recommended to just walk it off almost. Walking, it just, improves my mobility, especially my hips and my lower back. Sitting down all day, I noticed that I was getting so stiff.
Were you gaining any weight sitting down?
Oh, I have this crazy problem where I don't gain weight.
Okay, that's good,
I
right?
have a fast metabolism, so I haven't really gained a whole lot of weight, but I can feel it in my joints, I can feel it in my hips, and my hamstrings, and my lower back, and that's where I got my surgery. So walking's been almost like a miracle cure that you just have to keep going at, consistently to really feel the benefits. It's not like you walk one day and you're back.
It's got to be a long-term thing, right?
It's not a pill.
Right.
It's a commitment. And
Now let me ask you another question,
Yeah.
real quick. Do you and your wife ever have a problem, not necessarily with each other, but just a problem in life that you strategize about while you're walking?
You know, I unfortunately don't walk too much with my wife because it's more like I take him out, she takes him out kind of a situation.
Right.
But I definitely do spend a lot of my time thinking, in the morning especially, while I'm on my walks. It helps me clear my head. My wife, she loves to pray. And I find that that kind of time for me is definitely out on the walks. I find so much of my clarity, me thinking through problems.
If you're upset, it's a great time to blow off steam, right?
Gosh, yeah, moving your body is a great way. You know, if you can't, get in the gym and, grunt and lift weights, then man, getting out on a walk is just nearly the second best thing.
Brett, your words are magic to my ears. Thank you so much, and I'm glad I finally got to officially meet you.
You too, Jesse. I mean, it's been fantastic. I'm so glad that we've been able to do that, and I hope everybody listening can, also take these words of advice too. Is just get out. It's the best thing for you. You can shout while you're out walking. You can think in your head. You can walk your dogs. I mean, it's just so many benefits, and I think if I didn't walk, then I would probably be immobilized a lot sooner because of my back pain. And so this is my escape.
Are you addicted to walking?
Not yet, but I feel like it's definitely creeping on.
He likes it. He's enjoying it then. Brett, go to Walk, Talk, Vent, and subscribe. We want you to be a venter with the rest of us.
Absolutely. Well, I'll see you guys on the channel, and I'll be a venter for sure.
You're the best, Brett. Have a great day. Enjoy your walk. Thank you so much. God, I'm so excited. We got to officially meet Brett. Yay! So right there, guys, just goes to show you that we do have predictive powers, because what was I talking about earlier? Our lower back pain, and our boy Brett, he had back surgery back in 2019. You know what that means? That means that when he was 25 years old, because he's barely 30 now, right? It means when he was 25, he had to go through a surgery that could have led him to be very, very immobile and very, very overweight. But sounds to me like he tries his darndest to walk as much as possible. And of course, my camera would overheat right there, huh? But listen, my camera's still pretty warm. I basically popped in a new battery into a warm camera. So I don't ruin it, I'm gonna let you guys go now. But thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll talk again tomorrow. Bye.